Well, the end of another campaign season, and I guess your last campaign.
Definitely the last campaign. As you can see, my eyes are probably a little red and a little droopy. And, running when I was in my 40s in the early days and now running in my 60s, things have changed.
And what a year to run in.
It was very difficult to transition. It was very difficult with regards to not being able to meet people, not being able to have events, not being able to have debates. So it's a situation where we really had to adopt to social media. It also was a case that I think we all had geared up on what do we want to do for the city, and now we're going to have to talk about how we're going to get through the next few years. And that right now is a very tough question to answer because we really are still trying to figure out exactly all the impacts that COVID-19 is going to have on local government. And
when you think about it, it's not nearly the same as what council would have dealt with after the Civil War as far as damage goes. But in a way, there's the damage to the economy. That I guess is your issue.
It's been significant. It is going to be significant, and I think in the coming months, hopefully, we will be able to open up a little bit more. But you're right, the economic impacts are going to resonate well beyond this year and next year. We're going to be looking at a number of years to get through this, as we did again with the housing bubble. It took us a few years to get our revenues back and get back on our feet. So, right now the focus really has to be on, maintaining the core services to the community, and maybe some of the projects that we'd like to do are just going to have to be held off on for a while until we get through this.
We stood here a couple weeks ago and you talked about just about diversifying the businesses in the city, and I thought that's a great point.
I think an opportunity coming out of this, and you got to watch what you say about a disaster like this and say there's opportunities, but hopefully it's going to focus us on looking at different ways to do things. One being the tax base. How should we better position our tax base for the future so when events like this occur, we are not hit as hard as we have been, especially in the meals, amusement taxes, and things of that nature. And we are a tourism town. So that is something we've got to work on. And I think we need to look at the way we've structured government and how we provide services. Again, I've been saying this for years, this system of constitutional officers and division of labor between the school board and the council, everybody having basically duplicate departments. It's time to really say, those might have worked back in the 40s and 50s, but maybe now in the 21st century, it's time to look at how we provide services and how can we be more efficient in providing those services.
You see, just going around the city, the construction projects that are going on, the way what's going on with the schools, they're really, even though there are the economic issues, there are some real issues that the city's looking at.
No, and some of the projects we've got coming are great, but here's the issue. We're a small city of 10.4 square miles. We have a limited tax base and what we can put in here. The pressures for providing services, schools particularly, get bigger and bigger every year. And even before COVID-19, there were stresses we were already looking at, school capacity being one, and finding the money to deal with that being probably the biggest issue. So we are going to have to look at it, and thankfully we have that kind of relationship with the school board where we can have this conversation. I'm not saying we always agree, but we've gotten to a point now where we can put cards on the table and say, hey, if you want more money for the classroom, then we do have to talk about maybe having one financial department dealing with both schools in the city, one maintenance department dealing with things, and what other options do we have to be able to focus more of the dollars we do have available into the classroom as opposed to administrative or other type of costs.
You've always talked about keeping the character of the city, and I guess in your last 4 years that will be something we hear a lot about.
We do a lot of talking about the character of the city. I do believe we still have a bit of work to translate talk into action and making decisions that truly are to the benefit of the character of the city. I think the hard part over the next few years is because of the revenue picture, we may be tempted to take on projects that may have a good return initially, but may not be in the best long-term interest of the city. And I think we've got to be very careful in those kind of decisions, especially with regards to development this side of 95.
Well, congratulations, 4 more years.
Well, thank you. Look forward to continuing to serve the city. It's going to be, frankly, a pretty tough 4 years to get through, but I think this community has really rallied at a number of levels. If you read in the paper today with regards to what happened yesterday during the polling, with the restaurants providing lunches, city volunteering to help out, I mean, it really truly shows you what this community is capable of. And I think I can see it continuing, and we'll get through this.